American story.
Absolutely. So, my grandfather, Mr. James Lee Thrower Sr., native of Sumter, South Carolina, he got out of the Army back in 1948. My grandfather loved to cook. And I remember summer times where family would come from New York and everybody would be waiting on my grandfather to barbecue. My grandfather would barbecue on an open pit. Trash burned during the week, but open pit barbecue during, the weekends. So my grandfather would have this big pot of sauce boiling. Nobody knew what was in the sauce. It wasn't for us to know, it was for us to eat, right? My grandfather would take the chickens off the grill and slather it with this sauce, and people would come from miles around to taste my grandfather's sauce. And it actually became a thing in Sumter, South Carolina. Well, unfortunately, my grandfather passed in 2003. And we thought that the legacy of the sauce died. My oldest uncle, who is the junior to my grandfather, he got with my father and told him that he just had the ingredients list for the sauce. My father took that ingredients list and played with it for 5 years until he got it as close as he could. And we bottled the sauce. I am a retired Air Force veteran, 23 years. So my father turned the sauce over to me because, older people can't, they're not social media friendly. He didn't have the outlets needed, but we have a very good product. And I'm just hoping to have it on every table in America
Amen.
and beyond.
It's the Logan Power Show. Inspirational and motivational. It's the Logan Power Show. Informational to help you grow. Logan Power Show.
And now the host, Calvin Logan.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Logan Power Show. It's me, your host, Calvin Logan. And as you can see, I'm smiling, I'm loving life, and I'm loving what God is doing for me. I got with me a story of how a dream never failed. A dream to where, you hear about stories about families and how it takes somebody saying, you know what, I'm going to keep staying in the fight, and then I'm going to pass it on. I'm going to pass it on to generations. Well, I got with me a lady. She's going to tell you about how she got her generation taking the whole other level. She's the co-owner, chief operating officer of Jim Lee's Barbecue Sauce by the Smoking Spirit, the very only Mrs. Shekyra McGee. How you doing, Miss McGee?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you.
No problem, ma'am. I know we were talking off air, and it's a very compelling story. Uh, Tell us how the company came to fruition, and let's get into this great American story.
Absolutely. So, my grandfather, Mr. James Lee Thrower Sr., native of Sumter, South Carolina, he got out of the Army back in 1948. My grandfather loved to cook. And I remember summer times where family would come from New York and everybody would be waiting on my grandfather to barbecue. My grandfather would barbecue on an open pit. Trash burned during the week, but open pit barbecue during, the weekends. So my grandfather would have this big pot of sauce boiling. Nobody knew what was in the sauce. It wasn't for us to know, it was for us to eat, right? My grandfather would take the chickens off the grill and slather it with this sauce, and people would come from miles around to taste my grandfather's sauce. And it actually became a thing in Sumter, South Carolina. Well, unfortunately, my grandfather passed in 2003. And we thought that the legacy of the sauce died. My oldest uncle, who is the junior to my grandfather, he got with my father and told him that he just had the ingredients list for the sauce. My father took that ingredients list and played with it for 5 years until he got it as close as he could. And we bottled the sauce. I am a retired Air Force veteran, 23 years. So my father turned the sauce over to me because, older people can't, they're not social media friendly. He didn't have the outlets needed, but we have a very good product, and I'm just hoping to have it on every table in America
Amen.
and beyond.
Amen. We're in agreement with it. For you, when you think about history, uh, your grandfather, World War One, World War II survivor, and we don't talk about the things of history. Uh, you think about, for instance, legacy, Army. Army was the first branch of service to allow African Americans to get into service based off of 1865, the Juneteenth freedom. And from that particular passage, the Army was the first branch of service to allow African Americans to be able to fight World War One. And taking to World War II, branch like the United States Marine Corps, allowing African Americans to then partake in the fight. You think about the Air Force, and then the Navy and things falling, so on and so forth. And by you branching off to the legacy, going from the Army and being into an Air Force veteran. Just a side note for yourself, being a 23-year retired veteran, do you see how a legacy sort of has guided you to where you are today as a woman of power at this very moment?
Abs- Absolutely. I didn't see myself growing up going into the military. Listening to my grandfather's stories of when he did serve, going to Korea, going to Japan. I didn't understand as a small child what that meant until I got older and saw the history and the story behind it. And that was part of the reason why I chose. I chose to stand as an African American woman. We know that it's hard in there. It still is current day for us to navigate some of the terrain. I'm very proud of what I did. Every day wasn't easy. I know my grandparents are smiling down on me now because I didn't expect for the outcome that I have now. Just proud, honored to carry on that legacy. We come from a long line of military people, and a lot didn't retire. I am the first to retire. Not saying that if you didn't retire, it doesn't mean as much, because it does. Every little bit counts. We are the 1% of Americans that do it. So I am very proud to carry on this legacy of the sauce, and also the legacy of the military within my family.
Hey man, I just want to give you flowers. I know a lot of times we don't give people their flowers, and like for me, being African American, a male serving in the military itself, veteran, I always want to give kudos to people who have paved the way for me and have made it easier for myself when I joined.
Right.
I'm able to say, okay, well, it's people like yourself who say, well, I'm gonna take a leap of faith and get through it. And now you're taking a leap of faith now. As we know, the barbecue business is a multi-million, $100 million plus business where people who do want their sauces on their chicken. You may even have it on your steak. Whatever amenities you want to put it together, you're gonna make it happen. What you mentioned that he made this sauce back in the 1940s, and you think about during that time, how you hear all these stories of my grandparents did something that it actually makes a spark today. When you compare his sauce to the other products that you see barbecue wise, or what sauces that are there, you mentioned that it's unique and it's different. If you could say what makes you unique, is it the flavor? Is it like the how it comes together? What I guess separates it from everyone else that I know got something good where I'm at?
Well, well, the first word that comes to mind when you ask me that question is love, and the compassion behind it that my grandfather had. And if my dad watches this, he might get me, but I was a Sweet Baby Ray's fan. I was, until I tasted Jim Lee's sauce and his bottled sauce, because I couldn't get it until it was bottled or my dad made it. I came home. Sweet Baby Ray's is a good sauce, but my grandfather's sauce, when you open that bottle and you put it on whatever it is that you choose that day, um, it tastes homemade. You can actually see the spices in the bottle, and you know that my grandfather put love, time, and energy, and he had compassion behind what he was doing.
Amen. And I think for those that are listening to us right now, there's something like people say, like, man, I know you put some love on that food. I can just feel it. I can feel it in my spirit. It's love. Uh, when you think about love and the compassion that he had, what lengths are you willing to go to make sure this becomes not only a home McGee situation for the family of your family, but becomes a home for every American who wants to enjoy their sauce? Like, what lengths are you willing to go to make this happen?
Any length that I need to. I've it's not just about money for me. My father knew that, or felt that I was the best one to take this venture, because my grandparents raised me. I was born to a 14 and a 16-year-old. So my grandparents, back in the day, grandparents stepped in and bridged those gaps for the children and make sure they were successful. And I feel like I owe it, to my grandfather, to make sure that I don't drop the ball with this. It is a huge undertaking. Some days I wake up and I'm not sure of what I'm going to do. But I'm going to keep at it, and I'm going to make sure that this doesn't die, because my grandfather would not if he was able to do so today.
Amen. Amen. Now it's kind of ironic that like, kudos to your parents who brought you into this world. Kudos to your dad who passed the legacy, but even kudos
Yes.
to your grandparents for taking on the actual fire lady who came into the world. Because I know a lot of times you always say people you can't really identify. Sometimes you're like, well, where's the person's? You see the parents, where the grandparents at, and your grandfather had a legacy that you don't see a lot. You don't see that people say, well, there's something that my grandfather had, or you say, well, where are the old fables or the stories? Um, because you're a actually predominantly African American owned business, we all know that everything's not fair, and there are obstacles that do play a role in trying to make your particular product either something where it's just a West Coast thing, or a deep South situation, or a Midwest, or up north or east. Um, how what are some things that I guess that you've heard that you're saying to yourself that, what, based off either testing and actually putting my product where it is right now, I know this is a national brand that, besides the love factor, what have you seen in the sales from your product that this is a national brand product?
So with being military, that was the basis that I started off on when I started, trying to get the sauce out. So in the military, you're around all different walks of life. It doesn't matter color, religion. So that's where I started. And when you're hearing people of different races saying that your sauce is good, the sauce is good. It didn't matter. It doesn't matter who I'm talking to. I have sold sauce in Korea. I have sold sauce in Japan, United Kingdom, Germany. Everyone has the same consensus that this is a homemade type deal that you can't get on the shelves at a grocery store or a Walmart, a Target. It is just different. So I think using a military platform gave me a broader audience, where I'm just not in the South or in the West Coast. And I just didn't get that feedback from one specific target area. It was very broad, and the military gave me that, my military brothers and sisters.
Amen. Amen. Big question. You see a lot when people say, parents, they have something and they say, well, this is something that, hey, I got it. And I don't feel that my child is ready. And you hear that a lot of times, like, you're not ready yet. I don't think you're ready to take on this challenge. I don't think that you got what it takes. When did you know that I was that you were made for this? I know a lot of times you conquered the military, the 23 years going through challenges that, you know, certain stories you may could tell, maybe you can't tell, challenges of trying to get up there in rank, challenges of the color of your skin, challenges of the gender that you that you have, those type of challenges. When did you know that, when dad said, or when you had that conversation, when did you know, like, you know what, I can do this, and I know I'm gonna do it better, but not try to compete, but I know that I'm born for this?
So in the military, you know, you start as an E1, and the highest you can go is an E9. But in that, they prep you for the next higher rank. Unfortunately, with the sauce, that is not the path that I got. Sitting down and talking to my father after retirement, he told me that what his wishes were and what he wanted me to do. And at that moment is when I knew. Scared me. I'm still scared today. But I'm going to take 1,000 no's and 5 yeses, and I'm going to work this thing until I get it where it needs to be. Um, I knew the day that he told me. I knew that I had a huge undertaking, but I knew that I could do it. And I knew that if my father trusted me, that is my dad, right? So we know our children. And I respect him. I'm honored to be given this opportunity. So I roll with the punches. I knew at that exact moment.
Amen. And like I said, for those who listen to us right now, understand this. You know, I've always said that legacy is big. And sometimes with legacy, it requires you to push through some of those hurdles that you go through. So I'm giving you the opportunity, about a minute or two, to talk to somebody else who may be in your shoes, or in their shoes right now, where they're being given a task that they don't feel they're well qualified, or they feel like, you know, it's a bit overwhelming right now. I don't think that I have the tools to do it, but I know I'm born for this. So I want you to speak faith into their life, and let you tell us why they can make it. The floor is yours, Mr. McGee.
Okay. For anyone that's out there that's struggling with anything that they're doing, um, I've always been taught, growing up and being in the military, that I want to sit in the room of winners. I don't want to be the smartest person in the room. When you are the smartest person in the room, you will never learn any more than that box that you're currently in. We all go through hard times. Hard times is what make diamonds, right? Um, your time to shine is to show people what you're capable of. A lot of times we are our um, biggest hinder, the fear that we have inside. We are capable of doing great things. Each and every one of us are capable of doing great things. You just have to take that leap. You have to know and be self-aware. Also, you need to have the ability to understand when you're undertaking a big project and you need help. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to tell someone that you're not too sure of what you're going into now. That is the signs of a winner. When you can identify those shortfalls or shortcomings that you may have. But to everyone that's out there that is going through something, that is not feeling too hot um, at what they're doing right now, you are able. And with God provides, and God always helps you find a way. And just believe in Him, believe in yourself, and get some mentors around you that can help push you to the next level.
Amen. For those that are listening right now, again, you are speaking to the co-owner and chief operating officer of Jim Lee's Barbecue Sauce by the Smoking Spirit, the one and only Mrs. Shekyra McGee. Again, this company it was founded by Mr. James Lee Thrower Sr. Again, we want to shout out to the Thrower and the McGee family for what they are doing. We want to also understand that we want to get this sauce all across the nation, because we already know we nationwide, worldwide, and we speaking to a winner that's going to change the nation, putting that sauce on the Independence July the 4th barbecue sauce. And we're going to have a good time with our families and friends, having that mighty cookout, to knowing that we're going to have some fun and God has a plan for us. Hey, I tell you right now, again, when you got faith, Understand this, that your faith is going to bulldoze every barrier that you're facing. Don't think that you won't make it. All you got to do is keep pushing, keep striving. Remember, the only thing of failure is when you stop. Failure is when you quit and say, I'm not doing it no more. Understand this. You may miss it a couple times, but if you keep on pushing, like she just mentioned, I may get 1,000, a million no's, but those 5 yeses could change the whole legacy for her family. So let's pull forward, family. Let's keep a faith. And I promise you, God's got a plan. It's a lot of time I got. My name is Calvin of the Logan Power Show. Nationwide, worldwide. We love you. See you soon.
It's the Logan Power Show. Inspirational and motivational. It's the Logan Power Show. Informational to help you grow. Logan Power Show.